So hello and welcome to today's video. Today we'll be going over how Buddy fared in Japan, as Buddy has quite a bit of weird history involving the land of the rising sun. When Buddy was released in 2006, Rockstar just kind of ignored Japan. It was never released over there with the rest of the United States and Europe. But Buddy was released to the Japanese audience in July 2008, nearly 2 entire years after the original was released in the rest of the world. And this actually isn't that unusual for Rockstar, as pretty much all of their major releases always saw much later releases in the East than the West. GTA 3 for example released nearly 2 years after its release in the United States, hitting Japanese shelves in 2003. GTA San Andreas took nearly 3 years to hit Japanese shelves in 2007, and Buddy is no exception. Now it's actually assumed that the reason why Rockstar takes so long to release their games in Japan is mostly down to translation issues, as for some really odd reason Rockstar never hired any actual Japanese translators in their own studios, and as such for GTA at least they always outsource the games to Capcom, you know, the ones behind the likes of Resident Evil and Dead Rising, who would publish and translate the games over there and publish them under the Capcom brand. But this isn't about GTA, this is about Buddy, and for some odd reason Rockstar never outsourced Buddy to Capcom like they usually do, but instead Rockstar decided to outsource Buddy to Bethesda. You know, the studio behind games such as Skyrim, Skyrim Legendary Edition, Fallout 4, Skyrim Special Edition, the Wolfenstein franchise and Skyrim Anniversary Edition to name some. Now Bethesda were pretty much given the same kind of duties that Capcom were given for Grand Theft Auto. Basically, translate Buddy and market it in Japan, and also made a very tiny amount of changes for the Japanese audience. There were not many changes however, excluding subtitles, because Rockstar never really adapted many changes to fit the audience. Now Bethesda, despite only doing the subtitles and publishing it in Japan, very cheekily referred to Buddy as a Best of Bethesda game. Now the Bethesda branding was very weirdly handled. Like, Bethesda's branding was all over the cover like you'd expect, yet in the Japanese pre-release trailer they got no mention at all. In fact, Rockstar Vancouver, who made the PS2 version of Buddy, were also omitted and replaced with Rockstar New England, and Bethesda were also never mentioned anywhere in the game's legal information either, or the starting screens. For comparison, Grand Theft Auto in Japan usually had Capcom putting in their own splash screen alongside Rockstar's, but no, there was zero mention of Bethesda anywhere. Now Rockstar did set up a website specifically for Buddy called rockstargames-buddy.jp, which was a slightly edited and mostly translated version of the English site, where Bethesda were actually credited, and it still kept many of the teasers and previews the English site got. But some of it was still in English for some odd reason. I'm pretty sure Japan has translations for words like rules and regulations, articles and sections, but yeah. This site still kept the stuff like the Bullwurf prospectus and the Bullwurf Facebook, but yeah, just translated into Japanese and the same screenshots and all that. Now this site of Rockstar's actually went completely and utterly neglected for well over 10 years. It seems like when Rockstar put up the site, they just called it a day and just left it at that. Because when Buddy Anniversary Edition on mobile came out in 2016, which had full support for Japanese, it was never advertised on Buddy's Japanese site, and it remained completely unupdated until about 2019 or 2020. I believe sometime around 2020 Rockstar actually did shut down the site and merged it with the English one, which obviously included the updates to Anniversary Edition. Now when it came to the name, Buddy actually didn't get any kind of name change in Japan. Some of you may be familiar with how Japanese games are named over here in the West, like Yakuza for one, which has recently been renamed to Like a Dragon to be more intact with its Japanese name. But no, Buddy just kept the name Buddy. It wasn't even translated to be the Japanese word for Buddy. And even then, we have some more name changes with this. For example, Buddy on Xbox 360 was not called Buddy Scholarship Edition, it was just called Buddy, because since this was Japan's first taste of it, it kind of wouldn't make any sense to have a remaster of the same game releasing on the same day. Likewise, another exclusive change is the box art, as Buddy's release has varying covers by region. For example, Buddy with a normal Bullwurf logo in America, then we have Canis Canamedit with a Bullwurf logo in Europe, and then Buddy with Jimmy Star and Crabble Snitch Down in Japan. Likewise on the Xbox 360, Buddy has Scholarship Edition for America and most of Europe. In Germany it's branded as Buddy.Ehrenrunde, and it's simply called Buddy in Japan. Now because of how late Buddy released over in Japan, the Japanese never got Buddy Special Edition or any kind of contest like the United States and the United Kingdom got. Buddy, I guess, was just a pretty uneventful standard release for all things considered. Now rather weirdly, on PC, Buddy actually has files for Japanese and Russian Cyrillic. However, it's impossible to load these without modding. However, forcing them to load reveals both of these don't contain anything at all and just really turn your subtitles into complete gibberish. Anyway, as you can probably guess, Buddy was the exact same game the West got. There was nothing really exclusive or any big changes made to fit the Japanese audience, but there were 3 big changes. Number 1. cross and circle were swapped for the menus, since apparently Japan uses circle for its menus, while in the West we typically use the cross. And this is something I have seen before. I think it was in a Kadikarus video where he actually had a Japanese Thompson Tank Engine kind of game, and apparently they do use circle over there. Anyway, enough of that. English class was also nerfed heavily, meaning you actually needed only 15% to pass, therefore making it extremely easy to beat since you only needed to do about, I think it's 2 or 3 words per class. And of course mandatory subtitles in Japanese, much like how English translated games end up over here. It's claimed that some dialogue and mission names were changed very slightly versus what was said. For example, a little help roughly translates to go help the old man. Now, Buddy was not really that successful in Japan. It's reported Buddy sold a mere 30,000 copies on Xbox 360 and 40,000 on the PlayStation 2. For comparison, GTA 3 sold over 300,000 copies in Japan. So why did Buddy sell a bit poorly versus the West? Well, it's slightly down to the console choice first of all, since for some odd reason Rockstar never released Buddy on the Wii over there, despite the fact the Wii was an insanely popular console over there too. The Xbox 360 in general sold rather poorly in Japan, selling only 1.6 million consoles by 2014, versus 12.7 million the Wii sold by the same time. Secondly, it's also possible that Buddy didn't sell that well because Japanese and the West have different cultures, and there doesn't seem to be that big of a push for typical Western games like we see demands for Japanese games we get over here. And that's pretty much how Buddy was handled in Japan. It was handled very weirdly by both Rockstar and Bethesda, and ultimately, I wouldn't say it was a failure, but at the same time it wasn't a complete success either. But that's it for today's video, thank you for watching and have a great day.